साई बाबा साई बाबा ओ बाबा साई बाबा बाबा साई बाबा दीनों के दुख हरते 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 बाबा ओ बाबा साई बाबा
जय हो साई राम, जय हो साई राम,
जय हो साई राम, जय हो साई राम,
जय हो साई राम, जय हो साई राम,
जय हो साई राम, जय हो साई राम।
करुणा सिंधुरा साई पतिपुरी भगवान
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 जय हो साई राम जय हो साई राम
जय हो साई राम जय हो साई राम
त्रेता युग विराम द्वापर युग में श्याम
त्रेता युग में राम द्वापर युग में श्याम
त्रेता युग में राम द्वापर युग में श्याम
त्रेता युग में राम द्वापर युग में श्याम
राम तुम्ही रहमान साई सबका है भगवान
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 कलियुग के अवतार साई पतिपुरीश्वर राम
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 जय हो साई राम जय हो साई राम
जय हो साई राम जय हो साई राम
करुणा सिंधुरा साई पतिपुरी भगवान
करुणा सिंधुरा साई पतिपुरी भगवान
जय हो साई राम जय हो साई राम
जय हो साई राम जय हो साई राम
त्रेता युग में राम द्वापर युग में श्याम
त्रेता युग में राम द्वापर युग में श्याम
राम तुम्ही रहमान साई सबका है भगवान
राम तुम्ही रहमान साई सबका है भगवान
कलियुग के अवतार साई पतिपुरीश्वर राम
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 जय हो साई राम जय हो साई राम
राम सुमिर मन राम सुमिर मन
राम सुमिर मन राम सुमिर मन
राम सुमिर मन राम सुमिर मन जानकी वल्लभ दशरथ नंदन
जानकी वल्लभ दशरथ नंदन
जानकी वल्लभ दशरथ नंदन
जानकी वल्लभ दशरथ नंदन
रामचंद्र श्री
रामचंद्र श्री
रामचंद्र श्री
रामचंद्र श्री
भजमन सीता राम राम भजमन सीता राम
भजमन सीता राम राम भजमन सीता राम
भजमन राधे श्याम श्याम भजमन राधे श्याम
भजमन राधे श्याम श्याम भजमन राधे श्याम
भजमन साई राम राम भजमन साई राम
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 राम सुमिर मन राम सुमिर मन
राम सुमिर मन राम सुमिर मन
राम सुमिर मन
राम सुमिर मन राम
जानकी वल्लभ दशरथ नंदन
जानकी वल्लभ दशरथ नंदन
रामचंद्र श्री
रामचंद्र श्री
रामचंद्र श्री
रामचंद्र श्री
रामचंद्र श्री
रामचंद्र श्री
भजमन सीता राम राम भजमन सीता
भजमन सीता राम राम भजमन सीता राम
भजमन राधे श्याम श्याम भजमन राधे श्याम
भजमन राधे श्याम श्याम भजमन राधे श्याम
भजमन साई राम राम भजमन साई
भजमन
राम
साई राम राम भजमन साई राम
भजमन साई राम राम भजमन साई
भजमन
राम
साई राम राम भजमन साई राम
राम सुमिर मन राम सुमिर मन साईश्वराय विद्महे सत्यदेवाय धीमहि तन्नः सर्वप्रचोदयात् ॐ साईश्वराय विद्महे सत्यदेवाय धीमहि तन्नः सर्वप्रचोदयात् ॐ साईश्वराय विद्महे सत्यदेवाय धीमहि तन्नः सर्वप्रचोदयात्।
गणानां त्वा गणपतिगुं हवामहे कविं कवीनामुपमश्रवस्तमम् ज्येष्ठराजं ब्रह्मणां ब्रह्मणस्पत आनः शृण्वन्नोतिभिः सीदसाधनम् प्रणो देवी सरस्वती वाजेभिर्वाजिनीवती धीनामवित्रयवतो गणेशाय नमः सरस्वत्यै नमः श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः हरिः ओम्।
Om Shri Sai Ram. Loving greetings to you all. A warm welcome for this month's Pathway to Prasanthi online satsang, lovingly brought to you by Sri Sathya Sai Global Council of New Zealand. My name is Venugopal, was a Swami student in Vrindavan from 1983 to 1986, currently serving as National Service Coordinator. This monthly gathering is our humble effort to stay spiritually connected and inspired as we journey together, heart by heart, house by house, towards our beloved Bhagwan Sri Sathya Sai Baba. We begin, as always, by offering our collective humble pranams at his divine lotus feet. This evening, we are truly blessed to welcome a very special guest speaker, Brother Hari Shankar, who will be sharing with us on the beautiful theme, my experience in being part of Swami's mission. It is not just a talk. It is a glimpse into the life shaped by divine proximity and purposeful service, offering us both inspiration and guidance as we reflect on our own role in Swami's grand mission of love. About Brother Hari Shankar, he hails from Madikeri in Kodagu, Karnataka, and currently serves as Senior Manager, Accounts and Purchases with the Medical Care Division of Sri Sathya Sai Central Trust. He completed his B.Tech in Naval Architecture and Ocean Engineering from IIT Chennai, and later earned an MBA from Sri Sathya Sai Institute of Higher Learning, an academic journey that itself reflects Swami's grace and guidance. In his current role, Brother Hari is responsible for consolidating financial statements for Swami's hospitals and preparing key statutory reports for Government of India. He works closely with Finance Controller in preparing capital and revenue budgets and serves on the purchase committee that supports the Trust's medical service activities. But beyond his administrative responsibilities, Brother Hari is deeply immersed in spiritual sharing and leadership. He has co-hosted the Shravanam, Mananam, and Nididhyasanam series live on Radio Sai. He regularly gives talks at the Satsang Hall in Prasanthi Nilayam. Also served as faculty member in the National Leadership Program organized by Sri Sathya Sai Seva Organization, India. He has also contributed academically with papers on topics such as genetic algorithms in production management and portfolio selections, demonstrating both academic rigor and spiritual grounding. As part of today's session, you're most welcome to send in your questions to Brother Hari. If you'd like to ask something, please leave your questions in the YouTube chat box, and we will try to take few of them towards the end of the talk. We are truly fortunate to have him with us today as he reflects on what it truly means to walk with Swami, serve his institutions, and live as part of his divine mission. With open hearts and deep gratitude, let us now welcome Brother Hari Shankar and prepare ourselves to receive the message Swami has for us through him. Over to you, Brother Hari Shankar.
Sairam, everyone. First of all, I'd like to offer my humble pranams at the lotus feet of my beloved mother, and also seek his blessings as I address all of you. Also, I'd like to thank the organizers for making me part of the Pathways to Prashanti series. I really love the title, Pathways to Prashanti. Um, yes, and the title that has been have is about what it takes to be part of Swami's mission, like what my learnings are as I strive to be part of Bhagwan's mission, and I continue to strive to be part of Bhagwan's mission. And immediately my mind goes back to that very first time when I beheld Swami with the eyes of a grown up. Because although my mother was a great devotee of Bhagwan and had frequently brought me to Prashanthi Nilayam when I was a child, but I had never really had any personal feelings for Bhagwan until that one time when I visited Prashanthi Nilayam way back in 1996. So this was soon after I had got admission into the Indian Institute of Technology in Chennai, and it was a very momentous event in my life because that is one of India's premier technological institutions, and it is really a matter of prestige to be able to get in there. And I remember it was my grandmother who had persuaded me I should come to Prashanthi Nilayam and seek Swami's blessings before I go and join the institution. And in my mind, I had this conversation that, it was my heart and it was my intelligence that had got me into such a premium institution, completely my achievement. And to figure out like what Bhagwan had did, like what was his role in the whole thing. And yet, you humor your grandmother. And so I decided to just come along with her to Prashanthi Nilayam. So I landed here, and I remember that for some reason it was completely, I think, Bhagwan's grace on me. But the 3 days that I was in Prashanthi Nilayam, that would mean like 6 sessions of darshans at the Sai Kulwant Hall. That time there used to be this token system. So you take the token, and then that decides which row you get to sit in. So all the 6 sessions, I was able to sit right at the front. Every single time I would get the first row, and now looking back, I can see that it was very much part of Bhagwan's plan. But right then, I just took my good fortune, and what I saw, like sitting in the front lines, the front row, I had a very vantage view of what's going on, right, at my mind. Because in those days, I was lucky to come at a time when Bhagwan he had organized his 70 days of giving discourses. So continuously, Swami would give discourses for 70 successive days, and he would have two students who would speak prior to his discourse, and then there would be bhajans. And you can imagine the Kulwant Hall at the time, the completely lit, all lights lit, and it really looked like a bejeweled hall. And the interactions, that I could see Bhagwan was having with the students, that was something very, very unique. And in one particular discourse, so Swami was speaking about a particular lady who was in her terminal stages, right, and of an illness, and she had come to Bhagwan with the prayer that Swami should take care of her two young children at that time, right? So Swami was speaking about how that the younger student, Swami had to really uh, like convince him that from now on, Swami is his mother. He would take care of him, like give him the love of 1,000 mothers and take care of him. And so finally, that boy completely, he became calm. And Swami was telling the whole audience about the story of that young child, right? And even as Swami was speaking about that boy, and Swami beckoned to him, this is a very typical action of Swami. So Swami would call this way. And I just saw a bolt of white suddenly emerge from the student's side and go and he ran up to Bhagwan and hugged him so tight. And when he hugged Bhagwan, I could clearly see that boy was crying profusely and his tears had completely wet Bhagwan's robes. And Swami also appeared very emotional. He was hugging that boy and soothing him, calming him down. And that sight, it just ignited something in me. I was very, very clear that this kind of love is something that I want for myself. And also just overall, just watching the students demeanor as they would come and sit in for darshan, the way they would interact with Bhagwan, and all of that, I could see that this was a very different kind of behavior of young people as opposed to what I had seen in during my studies. And this is also something I said, like, this is how I want to be. I want to be a person like this. And also, definitely, I want the love of this being of Bhagavan in my life. So my heart and mind were like completely ignited. And therefore, when my studies started, I remember every semester, as it came to an end, my mind would already have traveled to Prasanthi. My body would take about a week more to join. But the whole time, my attention was, okay, when can I go back to be in Bhagwan's presence? When can I go back to in Bhagwan's presence? And I would constantly pray that I should somehow be able to get physically close to Bhagwan, and that hopefully during darshan Swami would talk to me or at least grant me Pad Namaskar. So many times that I would come to Prasanthi Nilayam and I would sit for darshan, and I used to call it the V cut. Swami used to perform the V cut. So that is, he would come very close to a person to the right of me. He'd very leisurely take their letters and grant them Pad Namaskar. And just as he was coming to me, he would go off to the opposite, the people opposite me, and he would grant them Pad Namaskar, some create vibhuti for someone. Then again, he would go to the people on the left of me. So I would feel very downcast, day after day, I've been praying. And that even when I've come to Prashantalin, I've been praying for Bhagwan's Pad Namaskar, but I would never get it. I had no idea what was going on. I was really very, very downcast, but yet I kept up my prayers. One sadhana that I would do at that time when I was still studying at Chennai was that every day I would make it a point to chant Gayatri at least a few times a day, because that was what my father had taught me and initiated me into. One day, as I lay in bed agonizing over the fact that whatever it is, I'm not able to come close to Bhagwan. I remember I fell asleep with that thought. Somewhere maybe in the early hours of the morning, of the next morning, I had a dream. That I'm sitting with my mother in the old Prasanthi Nilayam. See, there was no Kulwant Hall. It was just open with all coconut trees. And I was seated, of course, in the ladies' side. And there was suddenly, Swami, as he came for darshan, he came within a few feet of me. And I started crying out, Swami, look at me, you're not talking to me, you're not looking at me. And I said these words, and Bhagwan is still not looking at me. And then suddenly Swami says something. Again, he's not looking towards me, but all he says is, "You do not have strength." And then I'm in the dream. I remember being very puzzled. What does it mean? Do not have strength. But I had the presence of mind to immediately ask Swami, Swami, how do I develop that strength? Swami said, chant the Gayatri mantra 108 times a day. That's all. So that was the only instruction that I had. And so I decided to keep it up. Bhagwan had shown the way, and I decided that I should make this practice of chanting Gayatri. So make this every day. I would chant 108 times, and really hope that the next time I went to Prasanthi Nilayam, Swami would acknowledge that the efforts that I was making to get close to him. But again, as it happened, the next time when I went to Prasanthi Nilayam, the same thing repeated, that whatever it is, I could not get physically close to Bhagwan. I was not able to get his Pad Namaskar. And I remember one day I was crying inconsolably. My mother happened to be in Prashantilim at that time. She had come for Seva from the Andhra Pradesh Seva Dal. And she came out of Mandir, and they were very lucky that that day, at the conclusion of their Seva, as was the practice at that time, all the Seva Dal, they would be seated in rows in Kulwant Hall. And Swami would very graciously walk among them, and he would grant them Pad Namaskar. And those who wanted to give their letters to Bhagwan, they would give their letters. Swami would speak to them, those whom he had to speak to. So all of this I'd witnessed, and I was really downcast. So my mother had one very, very simple question. She said, can you see what it is that won them this grace from Bhagwan? Yes, all of them, like you, all of them, they do pray at home. They all do their individual sadhana. But what it is that accelerated that coming, the receipt of that grace from Bhagwan? And my mother said, just see, all they did was they did 10 days of service at Prashanthi Nilayam. That is all they did. They served Bhagwan, and immediately Swami granted them that grace. Right? So this struck me, like, that why had I not thought of this before? And that is a very interesting dimension which my mother opened up for me. And it is something that we do see in the scriptures. It is something that is brought up in the scriptures. So in the Ramayana, we have this interaction that is there between Vibhishna and Hanuman. So Vibhishna, of course, he has been a closeted devotee of the Lord. Given his circumstances, he could not openly express his devotion to Lord Rama. But one day they say that Hanuman, as he was passing through uh, Lanka in search of Mother Sita, who was then in the custody of uh, Lord Ravana, the villain Ravana. And so he sees that Vibhishna is there sitting in the palace ground somewhere. His eyes are closed, and beads are there in his hand, and he is repeating the Lord of Rama. He's going on saying, Lord Rama, 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 Rama. So then Hanuman is very happy that he's actually found an ally here in the city of enemies. All Asuras are there, but right among them he's found an ally, somebody who can help him. So he wakes up Vibhishna, and Vibhishna sees Hanuman it's a very new sight for him. He sees a monkey, and that monkey is trying to wake him up. So he's scared, very scared. But he says, no, no, I have been sent here by Lord Rama himself. And Vibhishna is stunned. So then he begins to ask him, who are you? What is it that you do for Lord Rama? And as he begins to hear all those stories of how Hanuman, in various different ways, he was able to serve the Lord, a slight amount of envy begins to grow in his heart. So he says to Hanuman, Hanuman, all this while, I have also been a great devotee of the Lord. You can see, despite all the enemies of the Lord who are here, despite them, I have worshipped in my heart. Every day I do his Nama Japa. But you have got the proximity of the Lord, and I haven't. What could be the reason for this? And Hanuman tells him, he smiles and he says, Vibhishna, it is not just enough to carry the love for the Lord in your heart. It's not enough for you to just repeat his name. Yes, they're all important, but very, very important. What is it that the Lord most appreciates is you're doing his seva. Tell me, in what way have you served the Lord? And Vibhishana is stunned at this. He says, see, that is the reason why you are not able to get the proximity of the Lord. So Vibhishana says, what is it that I can do? How can I serve the Lord? He says, just in this very small way. Lord Rama is in search of his Sita, who is in your brother's custody. So can you tell me where it is? Where is has he hidden him? And Vibhishana points Lord Hanuman the right way towards the Ashoka Vatika. So it is. They say that it is this act of service that finally had Vibhishana finally be able to get the darshan, sparshan, and sambhashan of Lord Rama as guided by Hanuman. So we can see that this is something our scriptures hold very dear. That in addition to doing our individual sadhana, that the seva of the Lord is very, very important. We see this even in the story of Totakacharya, who was a disciple of Shankaracharya. So they say that Shankaracharya, the way he would select many of his disciples, that they would be extremely sharp minds, very, very brilliant minds. One of them was Padmapada, who they say like he could absorb things at 3 times the speed of his fellow men, of his fellow devotees. So very, very quickly he would be able to grasp scriptures and even be able to debate with other scholars. Okay, but this one disciple of Shankaracharya, he would almost never sit for lessons because he felt that he was intellectually not capable. But he would spend his time washing Shankaracharya's clothes and do many other menial tasks that others were not ready to do for the master. So once it happened that Shankaracharya he sat with his disciples and he wants to conduct a session for all his disciples. And as the disciples are seated over there, he's very silently waiting for somebody, it seems. So as the disciples look around, they see that Totakacharya, he has still not joined their congregation. So they ask Shankaracharya, is it Totaka that you're waiting for? And Shankaracharya nods, yes, I'm waiting for him. So Padmapada, as I said, he was extremely brilliant and he felt very envious. He felt that here I am, like somebody so intelligent who can grasp the master's message so quickly. And the master is waiting for someone who has hardly ever listened to his lessons and who's simply not capable. He's not like any of us. And so he just, they say that he just looked at the wall and then again looked at Shankaracharya as if to sign that your message, whatever it is that you want to give to Totakacharya, you might as well be speaking to a wall because he is not going to absorb anything. And then Shankaracharya decides to teach Padmapada a lesson. He sends word for Totakacharya, and Totakacharya he comes very quickly. And they say that on the way, as he started coming, Shankaracharya, with his divine ability, started opening up his mind. And the moment he comes and sits in front of Shankaracharya, he is able to compose a poem in a very complex meter. And from then on, he is known as Totakacharya. In fact, it was from then on that he became Totakacharya and was heading the Sringeri Mutt for a very long time. So this is the story that once again illustrates how it is that actually by the service of the Guru, that is when we receive his grace far quickly than any other, by not by being in his presence, more than by merely listening to his teachings, but it is in the seva that we see that the actual transformation, actual opening up, and actual moving towards that final realization seems to be taking place. And this is what our scriptures they keep teaching us. So the moment, of course, from my mother when I heard that it is seva, she very clearly showed me. See, they did the seva for 10 days. They got the Pad Namaskar. They got the chance to speak to Bhagwan about their troubles, and they were able to offer their letters to Bhagwan. See how much time Swami was able to give them. It was like an individual interview for each one of them. See, that is the grace that he earned, that they earned. So I was therefore looking for every single opportunity to do seva. So the campus where I was staying was very quick, very big, very large. And sometimes when I would go to Sundaram for Swami's bhajans, then when I would come back on the way, I would see that at the gate of our institute, there would be small children who had come back from school. Their houses used to be somewhere inside the campus. They were waiting to be taken home either in a bus or they would have to walk home. Right. So I would offer these small kids that hey, why don't you sit on my cycle? So I will cycle you the way home, right? So every single time I used to do that, I used to say, Bhagwan, I hope this act of seva, it pleases you. I have no other means of doing seva. This is the one that I can do, right? So I kept on doing this seva, I remember, for an entire semester. And then later, actually, I got a chance to be part of the Seva Dal who were going to serve in Prasanthi Nilayam. This was from when I was in Hyderabad. So I was given the ID card. They said that you can now apply for this particular Seva. So then I arrived in Prasanthi Nilayam. I remember that even the Seva Dal coordinator from my center, he was also there guiding me. And this was my very first time being in Prasanthi Nilayam for Seva. I had no idea how it is done, what it is done, what is to be done, etc. But I could see from the conversations that the people around me were having, the prized places where one could do Seva. One was, of course, the Kulwant Hall. So everybody was uh, looking for Kulwant Hall duty, because while it was very strenuous, at the same time you could every day see Bhagwan. So that was definitely a very big bonus. But the most prized opportunity that I could see people were looking at was if they could get duty in front of Bhagwan's residence. So that at that time it was the Purna Chandra residence, and everybody was hoping for that opportunity, because they would say that you would be standing right in front of Bhagwan's door. So the moment the doors opened, Swami would look at you, and very often Swami would come and interact. He would either give somebody pad namaskar, or he would give some prasadam. So it was definitely a beautiful opportunity to be seated over there as for duty. Right? So of course I did not know the very basics of what had to be done. I was just being guided by my Seva coordinator. Very soon I could hear the buzz around me. They were saying that, oh, this particular person, although is coming for the very first time, but it looks like he's going to be favored for doing the duty at Swami's residence, right? They said, oh, he has come from IIT. He's from the premier institution. He can speak English very well. He can speak a number of languages very well. And they said that for sure I was going to be allotted duty over there. So for almost an hour, people are coming to me and saying, hey, you're very lucky, for the very first time you've come, but you're going to get this opportunity. So as I kept hearing that, they kept telling me, oh, it is because of your intellect, oh, it is because you look good. And all these phrases, as I started hearing, I could feel my chest puffing. So my chest started puffing with pride. I just started thinking, I've come for the very first time, but look at this, I'm getting this opportunity to be right in front of Bhagwan's residence. Soon word came that they were going to interview the prospective candidates who will be doing that prize duty. And I remember I was ushered into the cabin of Mr. Chakravarti, who was then the secretary of Sri Sathya Sai Central Trust. And next to him was Chiranjeevi Rao Garu, was again one of, I would hold him as one of Bhagwan's really right hand men who would do practically all of Bhagwan's work. Swami would trust him with a lot of work in the ashram. So these two very eminent personalities are sitting there. I recognize them for who they are. And as the interview progressed, Mr. Chakravarti had only one question. He said, how many times have you done seva here before? I said, Swami, sir, I've never done before. This is the very first time. And he just looks at Chiranjeevi Rao sir and he says, allot him duty in Shanti Bhavan. In Shanti Bhavan, which is the VIP residence. My world immediately shattered. I came out, I remember I was so downcast, I was about to cry because I couldn't believe what I'd just heard. Till then I was floating on cloud nine, thinking that it's just a small matter of him saying yes, then I'm through. And I couldn't believe what had just happened. Chakravarti sir had assigned me Shanti Bhavan duty. Like that could be the equivalent of sending me to the Gulag for what I was thinking I was going to get. So, and then, the same people who had till then who were telling me, oh, you're so lucky because you're going to get duty in front of Swami's residence, they tried to console me. They knew that I was very sad, devastated. They said, no, no, you'll be in Shanti Bhavan, you'll be interacting with VIPs, and best of all, you'll be getting very, very good food. I looked at them in disbelief. Here, I was thinking that I would be in front of Bhagwan every single day. And you're offering consolation that I'll get very, very good food in Shanti Bhavan. I just couldn't believe what I was hearing. So I went back to the Sevadal camp where we were all being registered. And I just sat there in one corner. I couldn't hide my tears. And all this time, my Sevadal coordinator is watching me from a distance. And then he walked up to me. He said, Hari, see, whatever is happening, I have been observing from morning, all the things that have occurred. Right? I can understand your state of mind, what it was before, and whatever it is now. But just understand one thing that whatever it is, the lesson that Swami was to teach you, he is teaching you right now. Just learn that lesson, absorb that lesson. And I just began thinking to myself, what is that lesson? And it slowly began to dawn on me that here, the people, all of us have gathered here for what? For serving Bhagwan, for doing Bhagwan Seva. And instead of offering myself to Bhagwan as his servant, I had brought in all my ego, that all the ego of my intellect and all of that, that of my capabilities, etc. And I stood tall instead of standing, bowing down in front of Bhagwan. I stood with my chest puffed up and said, Swami, here, take me. I'm here for you. Instead of like Lord Hanuman shows, that we should humbly prostrate ourselves, hold us as lucky that of all we have been chosen for Bhagwan's mission. And not understanding that, I had stood like that. And it struck me that Swami had taught me a very, very harsh lesson. And I deserved it, totally deserved that I had to go to Shanti Bhavan. I resigned. I was resigned to my fate, and I was about to report to the coordinator for Shanti Bhavan. And at that moment, suddenly the state Sevadal coordinator, he comes running to me, says, Hari, 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 come. So I was like, what happened, sir? So he said, we made a clerical mistake. Actually, we need 12 people who are to do seva in front of Swami's residence. And by mistake, today only 6 were selected. So there are 6 more who have to be selected. I put your name in that, and Mr. Chakravarti has already signed off on it. I was ecstatic for 2 reasons, because I was very, very pleased that, of course, now I'm going to do that prize duty in front of Swami's residence. But I was really shedding tears of joy that I had learnt my lesson, and Swami was so gracious that he said, "Yes, you have learnt your lesson. This is all that I needed. This is the only punishment. I don't need you to struggle anymore." Right? And Swami granted me my wish the moment I understood what it is, the message that he was trying to convey to me. So from that time on, I was very watchful that the snake called ego should not raise its foot. It does raise from time to time, but I should be watchful to make sure that it does not take hold of me. So I was very sure that if I had to become Bhagwan's sevak, this is one thing that I had to take care of. So it was that finally I was able to do that duty in front of Bhagwan's residence, and that really remains etched in my mind as a wonderful opportunity. Very soon, another opportunity that opened up for me, since I was from Hyderabad, I could join the Hyderabad youth. So one summer, I accompanied them on the Grama Seva activity that they were doing. And really, for me, this was a very formative experience, being part of the Sathya Sai Hyderabad youth. For one, it was an extraordinary organization in many, many ways. It was all composed, very homogeneous composition of just youth. So we were in the ages of maybe 17 to 30. I was among the youngest in that group. And the other thing was, for me, I have never seen this occur like this, that where we had leadership, we had people who were in the top, but I never felt them like they were superiors. They were like friends that whom I could speak to, go to them and tell about. They were never far away from me to speak about what difficulties I was experiencing. And they were also very, very solicitous of what I needed, took care of everything that I needed. And I could see that reflected in the attention that Bhagwan was giving them. So there were numerous opportunities that Bhagwan would give them to come to Prashanti Nilayam to do seva in the canteen. These are the chosen people who would do seva duty at the canteens during the big uh, festivals, Guru Purnima, Dashara, and birthday, and occasionally during the spirit, the January 11th, when we would have the sports meet, sports and annual sports and cultural meet, right? So these are the occasions that they would do duty, right? And Bhagwan would show a lot of attention to them. He would call them for interviews. I remember on one such occasion when we had come for duty during the Dashara time, we were in the canteen, and you can imagine that the canteen seva, we are all wearing t-shirts. We were black, literally blackened with soot from top to toe. Our dresses were dirty, our faces were dirty, and we had no hope that on the Dashara day when Swami was doing the Prokshanam after the Dashara Yajnam. So in the Purnachandra hall, all the devotees were seated, and Swami was going around giving Prokshanam. We could make out, we could hear the bhajans going on, but we were all there in the canteen. We were getting the prasadam ready. Very soon, a Sevadal comes running. He says, Swami is calling the Hyderabad youth. He's calling the Hyderabad youth. So we all rushed, and you can imagine the state in which we were in, very dirty looking and with dirty looking clothes. But there's nothing, you don't have time to go and wash. So quickly we all ran into the Purnachandra hall, and we couldn't believe what Swami had arranged for us. So the students who were seated there in several rows, so the Sevadal was making them go inside and make space for us because they wanted us to be in that row where Swami was coming with the Prokshanam. So, and I remember he came near each one of us. He made sure that we were literally bathed in that holy water. That was such was the grace, that such was the love that Bhagwan had for the Hyderabad youth. It was really an extraordinary experience. And of course, the love that Bhagwan gives, it shapes each one of us. That is something very, very unique, which again, I saw that when I was part of the Hyderabad youth. You see, what had happened, I had a very close friend. This close friend was from my school days. So one of the, in my school days, when I used to experience this person, he was a person you would want to avoid, stay as far away from him as possible. Very obnoxious, very annoying kind of person, right? And one day, one of the times when I accompanied the Hyderabad youth for their Grama Seva, so we used to go start off in a bus from Hyderabad to that particular village, right? And who was seated next to me was my friend. I couldn't believe. I was thinking, how did Bhagwan make such a choice of all the people? This person is such an annoying person. How can he be part of Swami mission? The thoughts that I was having, and the fact is that I have to somehow reduce person, right? And that was his very first Grama Seva. He comes, he starts the whole Grama Seva. But over the next few years, the person that I saw, his name is Venu. And, the person whom I saw at that time, the person I knew in school, the person whom I saw at the first Grama Seva, to a couple of years later, complete transformation. That irresponsible, chatty, obnoxious person had suddenly charge of so many, many activities at Hyderabad and during the Grama Seva too. And Swami started showering him with attention, that he became responsible for bringing so many people to Bhagwan's presence at that time. So really, I could see that being part of this service activity that Swami himself had sanctioned, the Grama Seva activities, as well as the Seva activities at Prasanthi level, it used to make a major difference to all of us. There was something, an expansion that I could see was taking place in all of us, in very, very different ways, right? And for example, in the case of Venu, he transforms from somebody who was a very insecure, underconfident person to someone who was like a leader. He really stood tall as a leader in Hyderabad. Now, what is it that has this transformation happen? So it is the benefit of being part of something much, much bigger than ourselves. And somebody illustrated it this way. He says that so issues in our own lives, with ourselves, with people around us, or the circumstances that we are, they may occur as problems in our life. Right? So if you imagine that those problems that we draw as a line on a board, we have drawn that line. Now, most of us, what it is that we do, we somehow pray to Swami, Swami, make that line smaller, smaller. If possible, Swami, can you make it vanish? Right? So That person told me, he said, what is the smartest way of making that line smaller without erasing? I thought about it for a while. I really didn't have an answer. How, if you have a straight line, how would you make it smaller without erasing it? The answer is very simple, that when you draw a bigger line, so you draw a bigger line next to that line, suddenly that line becomes smaller. So that is what Bhagwan says. He says, why are you so obsessed with the problems that you are facing in your life? That will be taken care of. You can take on something very big. Just look at the people around you, look at the community around you. There are so many things that need to be addressed. So Bhagwan, you can see he has taken on something very big. So he said that I will bring healthcare completely free of charge to the poorest of the poor, to the people who cannot afford it. Is that something that will go away in my generation or in the next generation or generations to come? I don't see it happening. So it's a very, very big game that has to be played on a continuous basis. And Bhagwan, take that on. Education. All of these are very, very big, much, much bigger than our small, small issues. And that is what helps us really grow. One very nice illustration is Gandhiji himself. Many of us, if we study Gandhiji's biography or autobiography, we notice one thing, that he was actually a person who didn't have much confidence in himself when he began. He actually mentions this, that the first day when he had to stand in the courtroom, he completely froze. The words, the arguments would not come out of his mouth. He just had to return that day, not having done speak a word in front of the judge. He always felt that he's a person who cannot speak in front of a crowd, who cannot speak to people. And this same Gandhiji, when he came back to India, this was in South Africa, when he came back to India and he gave himself to a cause much, much bigger than himself, that of freeing India from the rule of the British. That moment he found his voice. The voice that he thought was missing, suddenly it came. The moment he gave himself to a cause much, much bigger than himself. Because this is a path that Swami is offering us. This is, in fact, like a choice. So, on the one hand, we have a life that is given by our identity. So, our identity, we are completely all the time thinking about, okay, this is what I like, this I don't like, these are the preferences that I have, these preferences are not mine, this is good, that is bad, we should do things in this way, we should not do things this way, right? And somebody said something to us, and that sets us off. No, we are constantly thinking about the insults, the humiliations. We have our own anxieties, insecurities, and if you notice, a lot of our life is actually being in service of that. That somehow, if we feel that we are not good enough, our life is spent in chasing that love. If we feel that we are not appreciated enough or we don't have enough authority, we spend our entire life, like crazy people searching for, okay, how do I close that well? There's that open, large, huge open well in my life called I do not have appreciation. Now, how do I fill from? So we go crazy. We try to find all the sources we can to fill that well, somehow close it. And we see that it never, 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 ever gets closed. So that we live a futile life, trying to uh, service our own identity. On the other hand, Bhagwan gives us this very, very big life. He says, I'm giving you a choice that you can live a life that is given by love of leadership. I'm giving you a life where you can empower others, create peace among people around you or in this world. That's a life of huge possibility that we can live. And that is lovely choice, because for most of people, they live their life, they look very, very busy. They think that they're doing something very extraordinary, but they're in fact just living a life of their own identity and then constantly complaining that no matter what I do, how much money I earn, whatever positions of authority that I've attained, I have not attained peace or satisfaction in my life. Hello. Hello. Yeah. You know,
Yes, we can hear you, brother.
yes. As I was saying, sure. Thank you. I was saying that this is the choice that Bhagwan is giving us, and so it is that we have to choose. It's not the very natural default way in which we live is to live the life of that identity. So it's a choice that we make perhaps every day, perhaps second to second. And but that is a choice that takes closer to what Bhagwan's ideal for each one of us. I remember once I had gone to Araku Valley in Vishakhapatnam in Andhra. Avinash, is the issue at my end or?
Saram, brother, I think it is. It seems to be
Okay.
better now. Just continue talking and I'll let you know if it's not working.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. So there was this person called Mr. Murthy who was from Vishakhapatnam. So, in fact, he had joined the State Service Commission to work with the Chief Minister because he had scored, he was allotted the duty in the Chief Minister's office. So, he had a very wonderful career open in front of him. He was serving at that time in Hyderabad, which was the capital of Andhra Pradesh at that time. So, he was serving there. And so, what he started thinking is, I've got really a wonderful career and a lot of promotions that are ahead in front of me. I'm young, I'm dynamic, and I've already started at a very high level, right? But he started thinking that back in my hometown, there are these tribals who live in the jungles of the Araku Valley, very close to Vishakhapatnam. He just kept thinking of them, the kind of life that they live. He said, what difference am I making to people around me just by sitting in this office? He could not feel that, that spirit of service. It felt like it had got extinguished ever since he had joined the government service. So he pleaded with the chief minister to somehow give him some posting back in Vishakhapatnam. So he goes there and he starts living among these, not living among the tribals, but started working among these tribals, making mini water projects. So for each small tribal settlement, he would make sure that there would be direct water supply to their village instead of them having to walk several kilometers or miles in order to collect this water. So what he would do is he and his friend they would find a water source close by up in the mountains, and they had learned plumbing. So they would themselves lay pipes all the way to the village, construct a small platform with a tap so that they could source that water directly in their own village, right? So by the time I had met him, perhaps he had erected 500 such projects, small little drinking water projects, completely inspired by Bhagwan. And nowadays, he has inspired the villagers so much that they want to give back to Bhagwan that same love that they have received at their home. So they come in large hordes during the birthday or Guru Purnima, all the big festivals. They'll come and literally take over a lot of seva in Prasanthi. It's very wonderful. These are tribal people who otherwise have very little exposure. They don't have enough money, but they are ready to offer themselves to Bhagwan in this way out of their gratitude. And it is really when I asked him, so you had such a wonderful career in front of you. What it is that made you take up something like this, which is literally thankless? Nobody's going to come and offer you a medal for anything for this. He says, I compared. So I said, I had this one, on one hand, I had this life. I was very sure that I could travel abroad. I would have lovely cars and a lovely home to stay in. And on the other hand, I had this life which would make a difference to those people about whom no one cared. So I weighed the two, and I thought, this life of promotions and more money and material comfort, it didn't have, as he in Telugu he said, "Dantlo emi rasam ledu," means there is no juice. It is tasteless. That's what he said, and it struck me. What a wonderful enlightened person I'm really speaking to. Because in this way, you're actually redefining what love means. You see, for most of us, what love is like an emotion, right? We experience that love, that care, that level of understanding of people's situation when we are emotionally connected to those people, right? And but this person, he is experiencing that at such a large level, and it is not an emotion. For him, love is basically being a commitment to the people around him, being a stand, taking a stand for the people around him, saying that I will stand for their lives being improved in every little way that is possible. That is his expression. That is a complete redefinition of love. It's not the emotional, hormonal thing that we experience to the people around us, right? So that is a complete revelation to me, something that perhaps I would not experience anywhere else but in this organization. Now, as I said, for me, the biggest thing was to somehow become Bhagwan's student. And I was able to do so in the year 2000 once I completed my studies. And Bhagwan very graciously admitted me into his institution, the Sri Sathya Sai Institute of Higher Learning, for doing my master's in business administration. Now, the student life is a very very different, very close up view of Bhagwan, and Bhagwan would spend a lot of time with students, right? And in that way, we were able to learn a number of things, right? And yet, as I said, my the lessons that I had to learn, they really continued. And I remember one such occasion that Bhagwan had organized a mass marriage in the Kulwant Hall. And as part of this, already the Kulwant Hall had been decked. And for some reason, Swami wanted some measurements to be made. He called up one of my friends and he said, "See, we're going to see it all the couples." He showed the region of the Kulwant Hall, the boundaries around which within which the couples would be seated. He said, "See, I want you to measure that area and tell me how many couples can be seated inside." So he said, he told my friend, call some of your engineering friends. So he looked around and he called all of us. And of course, when I went there again, wearing my IIT badge, the topmost premier engineering institute. I felt that I had the greatest right among them all to be there because Swami had asked for engineers. So I went over there, I heard Bhagwan's instructions, and we promptly went and we were measuring Kulwant Hall, and I could hear the titters. So as we were doing that work, as we were measuring, Swami was somehow passing very hilarious remarks. To this day, I don't know what it was that he said. So then we come back, we are back in Bhagwan's presence, and Swami says, "Okay, so tell me what was the length, what was the width." So we told Swami, these are the dimensions of the area in which you want the couples to sit. Then he told, "See, what happens? Each couple, they will need this much area to sit in, and therefore, uh, just imagine they're wearing their saris and he's wearing his dhoti. So give them sufficient area. Say, let's make it some 3 by 3. And he said, now tell me how many couples can be seated in this." Now he looked at my friend, and my friend, he tried to do the calculation mentally. He could not. He looked at the person next to him, even he could not. And then finally, he looked at me, and Bhagwan also started looking at me. So now I very quickly did the calculation in my head, and I got the figure of 300. So I was just about to tell Bhagwan it is 300. I remember for some reason, right? It was as if my mind blanked, and the number 300 went out from my mind, and suddenly the number 400 appeared there. And by mistake, I blurted out, "Swami, 400." Bhagwan immediately, he fainted lot of annoyance. He said, "400, how can 400 couples be seated over here? Only, the correct number is," he looked at all of them. He said, "It is 300. Oh my God, I felt so, I couldn't understand what was going on. Right. And Swami then started, "See, you all think that you're engineers. You cannot even do mental calculations. The dhobis over here are even better than you." That's when I understood what was going on. I realized that yet again, Swami has called me in his presence this time. Directly in his presence, he has called me to serve. And what I was bringing again was that identity of mine. And he was cutting away at it. Yet again, very, very patiently, graciously, he was cutting away at that ego, making sure that it doesn't go to my head. In fact, he would often tell people, "Oh, he's from ITI." Now, those of you who are familiar with the Indian educational landscape will know that IIT and ITI are right at the opposite ends of the spectrum, right? So Swami would often do that. He would smilingly would say, "Ah, he's from ITI," just making sure that that I keep shedding that ego of mine, right? And I remember one of the things that had happened at that time was that I took it as a sadhana that every single day I should keep writing letters to Swami. So from the hostel, I would compose a letter, pay 5 rupees for the courier that has to take my letter to Bhagwan. So almost 6 months into doing this, suddenly the thought occurred to me that is Bhagwan even reading my letters? For what is it last more than 100 days I've been writing, and I don't have any acknowledgement. I don't even know if Swami is receiving my letters even, or does he read them? Right. So this thought suddenly formed that morning. As I wrote the letter, this was a thought that I had in my mind, and I dispatched the letter. So evening, afternoon darshan time, I sit there, and suddenly, Swami is talking to someone, one of the students, and he turns to me. He said, "Ha, tumhara letter aaya." I was like looking stunned because I had not expected Swami to say anything. All of a sudden, he just turns and says, "Ha, your letter came." I was just looking, completely stunned as looking at Bhagwan. Words are not coming out of my mouth. And then Swami very sweetly, what he said was, "But your handwriting is very bad. You have to work on your handwriting." So unfortunately, to date, my handwriting is still considered bad. Feeling that I had, is Bhagwan even reading my letters? So all these days, every single day, I've been writing faithfully. Bhagwan very, very in his own, playful manner, he said that, "Yes, I do indeed receive your letters." So it is that no prayer goes unanswered. There is no sadhana that you do that is not being observed by Bhagwan. Believe me, brothers and sisters, I could tell you so many such stories where I have seen in my own experience and of the people around me that there is no act, small act also that you do with Bhagwan that goes unnoticed. 2 years, 3 years later, sometimes something that I had done, Swami would remember and say, "Huh, you had done this, isn't it? You had cried for me that day, or you did this." So that is why it is very, very important for us to keep praying to Bhagwan. And the on the one hand, of course, the seva is very important. But how is it that we get those opportunities, that grace, that how do the doors to Swami's home, how do they open? They open through prayer. Through prayer, Swami, we keep praying, and Swami shows us the way. Go this way, go in this path, go in this path, and that is how you will reach me. Right? I remember that at the end of my student years, like most of us, when we would finish our studies, many of us would pray to Bhagwan that we should be able to stay on in ashram and that we should be able to serve him. And of course, that prayer, I never wanted to leave Bhagwan, and that prayer was uppermost in my mind. So when our studies completed, we had finished our MBA course. Swami was already in Brindavan by that time, and we rushed post haste. The exam got over that afternoon. By evening, we were in Bhagwan's presence, and Bhagwan was very gracious that he had already allotted some rooms in Gokulam, which is a small residential block near the ashram, and we were able to stay there. And not only that, Swami would allow us to come every single day for the Trai sessions. We were able to attend the sessions in Bhagwan's residence at Brindavan every evening after the bhajans. Now, every day, of course, like all of us, I would pray, I would write to Swami, "Swami, make me part of a mission, allow me to work in your organizations." And this was uppermost in my mind at all times. And suddenly, what happened? I do not know from where. Suddenly, very impure, lustful thoughts they started coming to my mind. What thoughts I had not had in several years. Suddenly, like a storm, it started attacking me. And it took me aback because, see, on the one hand, here it is, I am saying that I want to be with Bhagwan. And at the same time, I am having these thoughts. Like I'm sitting in for darshan and sitting in the Trai session, and I'm not able to remove these thoughts. And I started panicking. Like, what is it that I can do? How will I, manage if I have thoughts like this? How can I stay with Bhagwan? I started really panicking. So I kept on, every single day I would go. It was really become a struggle. Till one day I realized that what a foolish thing I'm doing. At no point of time I've asked for Bhagwan's help. So that day I just sat down. I said, Swami, that uppermost in my mind is that I have to be with you, but at this time I'm having such thoughts. I know it is an obstacle in front of me, but only you can help me get rid of it, right? So that day, during the try session, luckily, I got a chance to sit very close to the jula, the swing in which Swami would be sitting, right? So he was seated there, and Swami gave his discourse, and he sat down for the. We had an impromptu bhajan session, and Swami sat down for the bhajan. And right after that, he asked for arti to be given. And as Swami started getting up, for some reason, I think the mat that was there in front of the jula that started slipping, and Swami was about to fall very hard back into the jula. And the people around him, they did not react right away. And I was seated somewhere to the side. I quickly, as fast as I could, I moved to Bhagwan, put my hand around Bhagwan's waist, and I stopped that fall. Right, and so Swami stood up, and I went back and sat in my place. And Swami started walking back, right? And as he walked back, he just smiled at me and went. And that was the end of that experience. Then again, the next day, to my surprise, again I got the opportunity to sit very close to Bhagwan during the Trai session, very close to the Jula. And this time after the session, as he got up and he was walking by, his eyes, he just kept constantly looking at me. I was very happy, like, oh, he remembers that, yesterday I was of service to him. And as he came, what he did was he put his hand on my head like this. And he turned, like, he first gripped it very, very strongly like this. And then as he walked, he started turning it, like as if he's turning a tap. And he went away, and I was very happy that, oh, this was a really great blessing. I could not have asked for something more. Swami's blessings, very profuse blessings, he has given me in this way. I just thinking, and I walked out. I started going towards Gokulam, when I suddenly realized that all those thoughts, Swami had suddenly, as if he had really extracted them and thrown them into the dustbin. I felt suddenly free, and as if, the storm inside my head had just abated completely. The hurricane had gone. And I was really, really, I could not believe Bhagwan's grace that, I realized it as a small, simple prayer of complete surrender, complete submission, that I want to be with you, but it is only you who can enable that. And Swami showed it with his, like, bountiful grace. And also, so that was how, uh, through that opportunity of being able to, he only creates that opportunity. I was able to kind of be of service to Bhagwan by stopping that fall. And the next day he said, yes, I will remove the impure thoughts from his mind. It is he who creates the opportunities, and it is he, because of that, we earn his grace, and all of that always constantly happens just because of his benign grace. And that was after a few months, he gave me the opportunity to be part of his mission. And being in Satyasai organization, being part of the Sri Satyasai medical care mission, on the one hand, yes, it can be quite stressful when you're dealing with all the hospitals. You have to report to the trustees, and quite often there can be so many small, small fires that have to be put out, either raised by the government or sometimes internally. So it can happen that you're stretched quite a bit. But on the other hand, what I see, it's something very, very ennobling. I feel that I very ennobled by the fact that I'm part of a mission like this, right? In fact, I remember that I had spoken to one of the patients as part of a brochure that we were writing up. I was speaking to one of the patients, trying to get his story. So this was a patient who had undergone a valve replacement in our hospital. So he recalled that first, about 2 years prior, when this problem first started surfacing. At that time, he was a teacher in one of the schools in Vishakhapatnam, and he was the sole breadwinner. And his two young children and his wife, of course, they were completely dependent on him. That is when he started noticing fatigue. He's not able to walk, he's not able to stand and teach. And he realized something is wrong. So very quickly they diagnosed that his valve, mitral valve, began to fail. And now he calculated that, uh, supposing I try to get this treated, if I try surgery, it will cost a bomb in any hospital. He realizes entire finances he would all his savings he would have and more. He would have to give over to the hospital for this operation. He started thinking it is better for me to die than to try to be alive, because if I try to live, then none of my family, my children will not have a future, and we'll all be impoverished. We'll have to live forever in penury. So, though, with such thoughts in his mind, he decided that he will give up his life. Someone at that moment told him about Bhagwan's hospital in Puttaparthi. So he goes, and to his utter surprise, he finds that he can do his surgery completely free of charge. And he says that because of this, the fact that one, he was able to get his surgery done completely free of charge and is able to stand in his own 2 feet, get back his job, and in fact get to a better job and teach. Not only that happened, but also his own children. So he says, with so much pride, he says that I was able to educate my children. My elder daughter, she went on to become a teacher like me. She said, I want to be like a father and be able to serve society. And his younger son, in fact, he was able to take coaching for the Indian Institute of Technology, and he cleared that exam very successfully. Cleared that exam. He says my younger son is an IIT graduate, and believe me, none of this would have been possible if somebody had not pointed me towards Bhagwan's hospital. And in this way, we see that day after day, these miracles take place in which of which we are completely unaware. There are Bhagwan's educational institutions. There is, in fact, a nursing college which is there in our Whitefield hospital. And I personally know some of the students there. I know their backgrounds, and I can see in this one generation, right? So there is a generation where the parents are maybe auto drivers, some are watchmen. They come from very modest backgrounds. But this one degree that they do, completely their lives, their fortunes, and their families' fortunes are completely changed by this one course, right? Of all the courses, this is one dear to my heart because of this one fact. So maybe in all other institutions of Bhagwan, we see the students do come from sometimes privileged backgrounds. But here I know this, they come from very impoverished backgrounds, and they're able to make a big difference to their lives and their family lives on account of being able to study in our hospital. So I really am moved that I can be part of such an institution, that I get to work. I am paid to work. In fact, in such an institution, I really do not know what it is. It is the prayers of my parents, perhaps the prayers of my past life, but I'm able to. I recall once one of the secretary whom I spoke about, the Chakravarti sir, and by now he's already a trustee of the Sri Sathya Sai Central Trust, and also the chancellor of the Sri Sathya Sai Institute of Higher Learning. And he told me that throughout his life, he has served Bhagwan for 3 decades continuously in various positions, and at at positions which afforded him Bhagwan's interaction on a daily basis, at least twice, if not thrice a day, sometimes in private. Like he could be in Bhagwan's residence having lunch with him. And Bhagwan would ask him about the affairs of the institute or of the ashram. And he says that all my interactions with Bhagwan were of that nature, where Swami, I would speak to Swami about the work that was going on, about his mission, how it was progressing, or Swami would be asking questions regarding that. In fact, Swami, every year when he would go to, say, a Kodaikanal or an Uti, while everybody else would be clamoring that we should be able to join Bhagwan in these trips, the instruction that Swami would give Chakravarti is, I am going now, you take care of the ashram. So he says that that was a responsibility that I always had. And at no time he has asked Swami for anything personal, anything, be his own health or be his wife's health. His wife's health would fail very often. He would say it was never up to him to go to Bhagwan and tell Swami, this is what is happening. It would be some, say, Sevadal or some in charge who tells Swami that this is happening. Swami would give Vibhuti through them to his wife. Even when his children were suffering, I mean, ailing with some fever or something when they were in college, he would never go up to Swami and tell Swami, my son is having this illness or that illness. It was a warden who would go and tell Swami. So when I heard this, who have given themselves so completely to Swami that they don't want anything from him except the opportunity to work for him. They don't want any personal favor, nothing, no personal affection. They've sacrificed all of that and said that, Swami, the only privilege I want is to be able to serve you. And I thought, right at the head of our organization is a person of this sort. And this is an enormous, fantastic example that is setting for all of us. And I really felt that, oh, I'm so privileged to be around such people. In fact, our organizations have such integrity. I'm so proud to say that our hospitals have such integrity. Once I was part of a negotiation for MRI, the magnetic resonance imaging. This one, two. We wanted to buy two, one each for the Whitefield Hospital and Prasanthi Hospital. Very tough negotiations were going on with the Siemens and all those companies, right? And at one stage, we were at literally half the price which they had started out with. And and I was just thinking to myself that what is it that is motivating this person? So I go up and ask him, like, sir, I've seen you in this negotiation. We are ready to literally take any price that we are telling you. He said the reason is there are two things. One is that when first of all, it's a privilege for us to be associated with your organization. But more importantly, what we see is that every time the Sri Sathya Sai hospital makes a purchase, the whole of South India is watching which particular brand you're choosing. The reason is that in our hospitals, there are no kickbacks, there is no benefit that any particular person buying gets, right? So it is a completely value proposition. When you purchase an equipment or anything that you purchase, it's a value proposition and it's a signal to all other hospitals that this is a brand to go with. So they go immediately see our sales skyrocket as soon as you make the purchase. And that is why we are so happy to be able to give these prices to you. So I realized that, Bhagwan's, not only Bhagwan, but Bhagwan's institution have such a good name, and I'm able to be part of such an institution. Right? And not only that, not only I get to serve in Bhagwan's institutions, I get opportunities of this sort where I can speak about my experiences, the experiences of people around me, to share the love that Bhagwan has given all of us and be inspired to be part of his mission. I'm really hoping that today, that by being part of this program, perhaps I'm being very selfish in hoping that maybe I have gained more than each one of you in being able to dedicate myself to the mission because of reflecting on what being in these organizations has done to me and done to each one of you. So I really thank the organizers, Mr. Jay Shankar and many others who are part of the New Zealand group, right, who really created this wonderful program and given me this opportunity to be able to be of service to each one of you in this humble manner, right, through this interaction. And of course, I lovingly, lovingly, lovingly thank Bhagwan for this opportunity, for giving me this particular life, which I'm so privileged to lead. Uh, with this, I'd like to offer my talk at Bhagwan's Lotus Feet. And if there are any questions uh, which we can bring up and discuss, that would be exciting.
Sorry, brother Hari. Because of want of time, we just can accommodate one question because mostly you've answered most of some of the questions. Swami liked Grama Seva more. Can you quickly tell us, because we as New Zealand also want to participate in Grama Seva, that probably you can throw some light on that.
Yes. Yeah. So Grama Seva, that is the act of actually performing service activities in the village. Right? So Swami would place a lot of emphasis because he would say that on the first important thing is he said that the people of the village are very, very innocent. They are not aware of the progress that has taken place, especially in medicine. Right? So a lot of emphasis would be on being able to go out into the villages and being able to look at what problems they have at the medical level that can be addressed. Right. So even now we have the mobile hospital that goes into villages And so the thing is, when we have the super specialty hospitals, what is it? Why is it that we need a mobile hospital? Bhagwan very nicely he said that just imagine that the people in the village, right? They they earn on a daily wage basis. They earn, it's not like how we get a monthly salary. And so their savings are very, very minimal. So if they have to take a day off to come and get themselves checked up at the hospital, they lose that day's wages or more, right? So that is why they're very hesitant to actually come to hospital. So when Bhagwan sends his hospital to them or sends us to them in various different ways, right? For that's when we are able to they can take that 1 hour or 2 hours away, get themselves diagnosed, and then they realize what kind of treatment is necessary. Right. So that was what Swami said, that if you are out here in the village, out here in the cities, you're not aware of the kind of problems that they face in the villages. It's at a completely different level, and he wanted us to get the feel that empathy for towards such kind of problems that they have, to become aware at the grassroots level what is really taking place, so that we can ourselves, the dream that Swami had for each one of us is at some point of time later, when we grow up, we will be able to go back and serve the such underprivileged people. And I'm proud that many of my classmates, though being in very high positions, they still have that same sensitivity, and they try to address those kind of problems in their own different ways. Uh, so Swami was very clear that this activity is not only for the good of the villagers, it is also for your own good. He wanted us youth and students to develop that kind of sensitivity to people's issues. So that was one very big reason. So in fact, Swami would say, Grama Seva e Rama Seva. He said, if you serve those villagers, it is like serving me. That was the thing that he used to keep on reminding us every single Grama Seva that we went to. For Swami, that was the most important service the youth can perform.
Very well said, brother. Thank you so much, and I think you have really captured our inspiration, our interest. What a beautiful and heartfelt satsang we had today, and so blessed we feel with your talk. On behalf of entire New Zealand Sai family, we offer our deepest gratitude to Brother Hari Shankar for sharing his personal journey and reflections with us. That being part of Swami's mission is not a title, it is a way of life, the one rooted in love, humility, and unflinching faith. We thank you sincerely for taking the time to be with us and enriching our spiritual path with your experience and wisdom. To all our dear brothers and sisters who joined us today, this evening, thank you so much once again for your loving presence and participation. It is your devotion and enthusiasm that give life to this pathway to Prashanti each month. As you know, come to the last segment to a close. We will proceed with few brief announcements, followed by 3 bhajans, and conclude with Mangalarati to our beloved Bhagwan. We invite you to stay with us and continue to soak in the divine vibration of this evening. Jai Sai Ram.
जय जय हे गजानना
जय 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 हे गजानना
जय 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 हे गजानना
जय 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 हे गजानना
गजानना हे गजवदना गजानना हे गजवदना जय 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 हे गजानना
जय 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 हे गजानना
पार्वती नंदन गजानना पार्वती नंदन गजानना पशुपति तनया गजानना पशुपति तनया गजानना आदि पूज्य देव गजानना आदि पूज्य देव गजानना जय 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 हे गजानना गजानना हे गजवदना जय 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 हे गजानना पार्वती नंदन गजानना पशुपति तनया गजानना आदि पूज्य देव गजानना आदि पूज्य देव गजानना जय 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 हे गजानना
साई नाम बोलो सत्य साई नाम बोलो
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 साई माधवा साई केशवा श्री हरि 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 नाम बोलो
अल्लाह ईश्वर ईसा मसीहा
ईश्वर ईसा मसीहा
ईसा मसीहा
ईश्वर ईसा मसीहा
बुद्ध महावीरना
बुद्ध महावीरना
बुद्ध महावीरना
बुद्ध महावीरना
साई माधवा साई केशवा श्री हरि नाम बोलो
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 साई नाम बोलो सत्य साई नाम बोलो
साई नाम बोलो सत्य साई नाम बोलो
साई माधवा साई केशवा श्री हरि नाम बोलो
साई माधवा साई केशवा श्री हरि नाम बोलो
अल्लाह ईश्वर ईसा मसीहा
ईश्वर ईसा मसीहा
बुद्ध महावीरना
बुद्ध महावीरना
साई माधवा साई केशवा श्री हरि नाम बोलो
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 साई नाम बोलो सत्य साई नाम बोलो
सुब्रह्मण्यम सुब्रह्मण्यम षण्मुखनाथ सुब्रह्मण्यम 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 षण्मुखनाथ सुब्रह्मण्यम 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 षण्मुखनाथ सुब्रह्मण्यम 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 षण्मुखनाथ सुब्रह्मण्यम शिव 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 सुब्रह्मण्यम हर 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 सुब्रह्मण्यम ओम शिव 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 सुब्रह्मण्यम हर 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 सुब्रह्मण्यम जय सुब्रह्मण्यम सुब्रह्मण्यम षण्मुखनाथ सुब्रह्मण्यम 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 षण्मुखनाथ सुब्रह्मण्यम 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 षण्मुखनाथ सुब्रह्मण्यम 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 षण्मुखनाथ सुब्रह्मण्यम ओम सुब्रह्मण्यम सुब्रह्मण्यम षण्मुखनाथ सुब्रह्मण्यम जय सुब्रह्मण्यम सुब्रह्मण्यम षण्मुखनाथ सुब्रह्मण्यम ओम ओम सुब्रह्मण्यम सुब्रह्मण्यम षण्मुखनाथ सुब्रह्मण्यम जय सुब्रह्मण्यम सुब्रह्मण्यम षण्मुखनाथ सुब्रह्मण्यम सुब्रह्मण्यम सुब्रह्मण्यम
ओम जय जगदीश हरे स्वामी सत्य साई हरे भक्त जना संरक्षक भक्त जना संरक्षक पति महेश्वरा ओम जय जगदीश हरे शशिवदना श्रीकरा सर्वा प्राणपते स्वामी सर्वा
పితా గురుదైవము మరి అంతయు నీవే స్వామి మరి అంతయు నీవే నాద బ్రహ్మ జగన్నాథ నాద బ్రహ్మ జగన్నాథ నాగేంద్రాశయన ఓం జయ జగదీశ హరే ओंकार रूप ओजस्वी हो साई महादेवा सत्य साई महादेवा मंगल आरती अंधुको मंगल आरती अंधुको मंदर गिरिधारी ओम जय जगदीश हरे नारायण नारायण ओम सत्य नारायण 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 ओम नारायण नारायण ओम सत्य नारायण नारायण ओम सत्य नारायण नारायण ओम जय सद्गुरुदेवा नारायण नारायण ओम सत्य नारायण 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 ओम नारायण नारायण ओम सत्य नारायण नारायण ओम सत्य नारायण नारायण ओम जय सद्गुरुदेवा नारायण नारायण ओम सत्य नारायण 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 ओम नारायण नारायण ओम सत्य नारायण नारायण ओम सत्य नारायण नारायण ओम जय सद्गुरुदेवा शांति 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 समस्त लोकाः सुखिनो भवन्तु समस्त लोकाः सुखिनो भवन्तु समस्त लोकाः सुखिनो भवन्तु शांति 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 जय बोलो भगवान श्री सत्य साई बाबा जी की जय।